Hey everyone, welcome to another rapid fire review, this time for Asobo's Plague Tale Requiem. This highly anticipated sequel comes 3 years after the surprise success of Plague Tale Innocence, for which a AA studio far exceeded expectations in storytelling, atmosphere, and gameplay. With Requiem, Asobo seems to have wanted to exceed expectations again, delivering a game twice as large as his predecessor. Now, before I even get started, I want to preface any bad things I'm going to say in comparison to the first game I'm going to make with my overall sentiment. I like this game. I think it's worth playing, I think it's worth buying, and it's included with Game Pass. I just had such high opinions of the first game, and this quite frequently and drastically departs from the expectations I had going in. Now, I know that comparison might be the thief of joy, but in this case, when we're talking about a second installment in a series, I do believe it's important. With sequels come expectations, and so when I started this game, I expected focused and emotional storytelling, satisfying stealth gameplay, and of course, lots and lots of rats. Some of these were met, and some absolutely missed the mark. So let's start with the story. Now, to get you caught up, the first game is set during the 100 Years' War, and we follow Amicia, a 15-year-old noble girl, and her brother Hugo, who is afflicted with a strange illness called the macula. The pair must escape the French Inquisition who are hunting Hugo, while avoiding masses of rats spreading the plague. Now, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's a tight, focused, 10-hour-long game that really showcases the development of a bond and trust between Amicia and Hugo. The ending goes a touch crazy, but I'll allow it. In Requiem, we follow the pair after their escape, on their journey to meet the Order of Alchemists, hoping that the alchemists who have been studying the macula for generations will finally deliver a cure, and allow Hugo to live a normal life. Since the last game, it appears that Hugo has matured significantly. He understands what the macula means, and how his mere existence endangers his family and everyone in the region. At the same time, Amicia's bond to Hugo has led her in the opposite direction emotionally. She is single-minded in her protection of Hugo, killing all in her path. She goes on murderous rampages, alienates herself from even her own mother. She has depressive episodes, all while being unaware or uncaring of the 7-digit body count that her and Hugo are ultimately responsible for. She's so single-minded in her defense of Hugo over all things that she often comes off as whiny in the dialogue, and I often found myself very annoyed with her. Fortunately, this kind of fades away after the first several missions. I often found it hard to support the decisions I was required to make in this game as well. Seeing the total physical destruction of the cities and seeing every living thing inside them chewed to death by rampaging rodents because of a child who clearly did not want to be responsible. Or the insistence on the characters derailing their story to search for a place that Hugo has simply been dreaming of. Not a specific place, mind you, an island. One of the thousands or tens of thousands in existence. But he has specified that it has a bird and a tree. Later, the game attempts to justify the search by showing you a tapestry of the place, but by this time I'd spent several hours of children demanding a search for it while rolling my eyes. Amicia also makes decisions to, betray companions that will be tortured and executed, which is, I guess, something that she does now. The first game, especially in the first 2 acts, felt like a wonderful story of family growing together, and it did finish with a wild rat Magic Lord v. Rat Magic Lord finale that was less impressive and compelling than was set up previously, but it was a compelling story, set in a well-known historical backdrop that only in the end kind of spiraled out of control. This being a sequel, the relationship is already set between the characters, and since we don't get new main characters, we start in that wild spiral of rat magic, doomsday, prophecy, extreme convenience, convoluted storyline. It felt like the parts of the first game that I simply tolerated but didn't love became the entire focus of the sequel, and then it was stretched to double its length. Which is actually my biggest gripe. The length of this game is too much. It certainly overstayed its welcome. It has fake-out ending after fake-out ending. The first game was powerful, focused, and trimmed, and this sequel feels bloated and stretched and absolutely stale by the end. Overall, I feel the writing for this game is fine. Maybe even pretty good if I try to compartmentalize how different it feels from the first, completely separating it. And ultimately, I think that's what you have to do. This is its own thing. We can't compare it to the one that came before. Now onto the visuals. Visually speaking, you would never guess that this is a game made by a AA studio.
Time to run! Hugo, you're gonna sweat like a hog!
I am sweating like a hog.
It's gorgeous. Asobo is absolutely shaming much larger studios with the environments presented here. In addition to the small, claustrophobic segments we got last time, Requiem opens up the environments, giving views of distant towers, castles, and ports. The world feels enormous. Now, facial animation is probably where you can tell that this is a AA offering, but it's actually not that bad. It's just some stiff faces and lip syncs being off from time to time.
Stopping it. No elixir, no potion.
Wait. There's an island. He keeps talking about an island. Maybe the macula is behind it.
It is a child fantasy.
So what's a child's fantasy doing on the wall of your laboratory?
The voice acting here is also quite good. Now, I may not have liked some of the dialogue, but the voice actors did an amazing job, especially the child actors. For gameplay, we got a similar style to Innocence, with quite a few improvements. More gadgets, more interactive environments that lead to highly replayable gauntlets where you can simply sneak through undetected. Perhaps even have murderous soldiers eaten by rats by extinguishing their light sources. You can burn people alive by coating them in tar. You can take control of hordes of rats and have them hunt people down.
Yes, I'll open the safe way.
And of course, there's always the trusty sling and rock combination to make widows of much of France. Though it's not just the story that was stretched out far beyond what it should be. The gameplay loop, especially at the end of this game, devolved into long murder arenas. The non-sneak combat is already the weakest portion of the gameplay, and to finish the game with several exceptionally long ones felt miserable. Gameplay simply stopped getting more intricate and interesting about halfway through. The ending segments desperately needed some other aspect other than more waves to make them worth playing. The joy I once had playing the early missions all but disappeared when I just had to stand on a beach and have a few dozen armored guards attack me one or two at a time. There was no puzzle to solve or interesting things to do. Just kill dudes over and over. On top of all that, the final battle ends so abruptly and unceremoniously, I was shocked. Overall, I enjoyed this game, and I do recommend that you play it. I just think it's pretty common to be harder on things that we love or are close to, and for the series, Asobo seems to have overreached with Requiem. The game absolutely suffers from them trying to do so much more than before, and for me, they kind of lost sight of what made their first game special. I really do think that if the game had been half its length, I would have found significantly less cracks. Go play Requiem for yourself, though, and let me know what you think. But for me, I am giving A Plague Tale Requiem the good game score of 7 out of 10. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end, and we shall see you on the next Angry Joe Show.